They've put together a Value Voters Summit. That's the Family Research Council putting that together, and they're going to talk about values. Now, you know how that works in the Republican circles. When they say values, they mean, who do we hate? Do we hate gays? You know, or who are we going to spew against? There's not really any discussion about, hey, you know, how do we get through the day together as a family, as a community? How do we help one another? Those aren't values. No. How do we help the poor? Oh, come on. That isn't a value. No. Discriminating against people, that's a value. And we have the perfect person to start that off. His name is Michael Schwartz. He's the chief of staff for Senator Tom Coburn. Now, he said some questionable things in the past, which I'll tell you about after the video. They sent in somebody, Think Progress did, to secretly videotape him. Now, it's not illegal in any way, shape, or form. He's giving a speech at this summit. So they thought, well, why not find out what they have to say to their own, you know, value voters. So Michael Schwartz is going to opine on pornography and how it is homosexual. Interesting. Let's listen in.
He bought an old motel, turned it into a hospice for some of his former associates who were dying of AIDS, and he helped almost 300 men die. This man was a real hero, but he knew that he wasn't as healed as he thought he was. He was able to resist temptation. He was able to resist sin, but he wasn't healed enough to take on the responsibilities of marriage. He was a brilliant man in the sense that he knew himself and he knew his limits. And he and I had good conversations about the malady that he had suffered. And one of the things he said to me that I think is an astonishingly insightful remark, he said, all pornography is homosexual pornography, because all pornography turns your sexual drive inwards. Now think about that. And if you tell an 11-year-old boy about that, do you think he's going to want to go out and get a copy of Playboy? I'm pretty sure he'll lose interest. That's the last thing he wants. You know, that's a good comment. It's a good point, and it's a good thing to teach young people. His name is Jim Johnson. He's a friend of mine. He ran an organization called Beyond Rejection Ministries, and I consider him one of the most heroic men I've ever met. But all pornography is homosexual pornography, because all pornography turns your sexual drive inwards. And that, in fact, is what it does. I know couples now who are struggling with the husband's addiction to pornography. It's a terrible thing, and that's what happened to him. And you know, if it doesn't turn you homosexual, it at least renders you less capable of loving your wife. And it's something you need to be healed of.
All right, now I hope you could hear most of that. So he was saying the story of this guy, his friend, is Jim Johnson, that now runs Beyond Rejection Ministries. And the part we didn't play you, he explained that Jim was gay, but then he was saved from the malady, as you heard him call it in that video, the malady of homosexuality. And of course, he went on to explain that part of the problem was pornography. That he called it a blight and a disease. Pornography apparently is also a disease. And that it, as he explained there, he turns it, at the very least, if it doesn't turn you gay, which it probably will, but if it doesn't, it makes you turn inward, and that's kind of gay. I don't know what he means by turn inward. I don't know how that relates to being gay. I have no idea, okay? In fact, I was totally confused by this whole thing, right? Why is straight porn gay porn? I'm not understanding the mind of the right-wing zealot, right? And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, why does he think that? Why does he? And I was like, oh. Because when he watches straight porn, he sees the penis. And when he does, he's like, penis. It makes me want to turn inward. Because that didn't occur to me, right? But I think that's what he's driving at. Otherwise, you tell me. I don't understand what he's saying, right? So, because remember that the number one thing about these guys is, the ones that hate homosexuality so much, they're like, it's dangerous. Alan Keyes talks about this. So many of them talk about this. They're like, it's so dangerous. The temptation is too much. We have to control it. See, I don't have that strong a temptation, but I guess, this fella right here, Michael Schwartz, chief of staff for Tom Coburn, is wrestling with that temptation every day. So he doesn't want to see the porn. There's dangerous things on that porn. They're called penises. Anyway, so now to give you a sense of Michael Schwartz overall, he, of course, said that in 2005, he said it in 2005. Earlier, the Supreme Court had ruled that homosexuality could not be made illegal, right? You can't say, hey, somebody having sex in the privacy of their own home, no matter what kind of sex it is not illegal in terms of homosexuality or heterosexuality. And he, in 2005, called that the Supreme Court giving Americans, quote, the right to buggery. Always obsessed with the buggery and turning in words and the things that that he apparently continually talks about. Later, he told Max Blumenthal about the Supreme Court, I'm a radical, I'm a real extremist, I don't want to impeach judges, I want to impale them. Stay classy, San Diego. And finally, in 87, Schwartz co-wrote Gay, AIDS, and You, where he basically alleged that the gay community is using the AIDS crisis to pursue their political agenda. They're like, yes, finally, a deadly disease killing millions. So it'll work out perfectly for our political agenda. Yeah, Michael, that's probably how it works in there. See, again, projection. If there's a crisis or something terrible that happens, what do conservatives think? Let's use it for our political agenda. So then they assume that others do likewise, right? So that's the sense of Michael Schwartz for you. And when he's at a voters' value summit, that's the kind of values that they're talking about. Are those your values? I don't know. They're not my values.